Welcome to another episode of the All Tens Podcast. I'm your co-host, Josh West. And as always, here with me, Clay Harris. And we're continuing our series on the Vision Traction Organizer, otherwise known as VTO. And today we're examining question 4, what is your marketing strategy? And that, in and of itself, has 4 components. Clay, give our listeners a little bit more context about the marketing strategy.
Marketing strategy. We've answered 3 questions in previous episodes: core values, core focus, core target. So when we answer those questions, we're learning, discovering who we are with our core values, what we do with our core focus, where we're headed with our core target. And when we get to marketing strategy, we're answering the question of how. Like, what is the way that we're going to accomplish those things? How are we going to get to that core target? And buried within the 4th question is, as you alluded to, another 4 questions. So it's kind of a hidden additional 4 questions, which is always fun to surprise them with. But 4 questions in the marketing strategy that ultimately get to the question of how we're going to accomplish that core target. The 4 questions are: what's your target market? What are your 3 uniques? What makes you different? What's your proven process? And what is your guarantee? And so when we're answering the question of the marketing strategy, we're answering all those 4 questions so that we can share simply with the rest of our team, with our clients, with our referral networks, who we're looking for with our target market, what makes us different with our 3 uniques, what it looks like to go from not a client to a happy client forever with our proven process, and what our promise is with the guarantee. Right?
You got it.
Yes.
And when I think about this, and some people may say, well, Josh, like, isn't that left to the marketing department? And our response to that is the VTO is to get everyone inside of the organization on the same page, right? This is part of the vision component here. And so when we talk about the marketing strategy, this is not a 30-page strategy document. We're not talking about individual ads and different channels and things like that, all of those details that are left to the marketing department, but rather at the highest level, does everyone inside of the organization understand our target market, who we are going after and trying to turn into customers, and where we're expending all of our precious sales and marketing time and energy and budget? And so, one of the things about the VTO is it's all about simplification in and of itself, right? This is also not a 30-page document in and of itself. And so the marketing strategy, again, is so that everyone can really understand that. And so then, to start to get detailed into it, when we talk about that target market, we're really looking for the demographic, geographic, and psychographic profiles of the people we're trying to turn into customers, otherwise known as the list, capital L. Like, who are we talking to? And, it's easy to define those first 2, but I would say in working with clients, where we get a lot of value is out of that 3rd one, psychographically. And simply put, it's what do those people believe? What do they think? And when we start to get into their heads, I think that's really where clearly defining that for everyone in the organization really starts to pay dividends. Clay, when you're working with clients, where do you see them really having an easy time or maybe some challenges with defining their marketing strategy?
When I work with leaders, and we get to this question around defining the marketing strategy, it normally goes one of 2 ways. One, they're like all in. They really want to like embrace this idea that like, man, as specific as we can get. I really understand that like I have a limited budget for sales and marketing. And if the more specific I can get, the better I can define this for people, the more I can kind of create that network effect because everyone knows exactly who I'm looking for. Then you have the other hand is like, everybody should be a client. I don't want to limit it. And so for the clients who say everybody's a client, that's really just this manifestation of the confusion that exists within their company, because they actually, when everybody's a client, no one's a client, right? When everybody is a target, I don't know how to talk to my grandma about it. I don't know how to talk to my neighbor about it with any specificity that resonates with them, right? If I can go to my neighbor and say like, and they say, who do you work with? And you say, 10 to 250 employees, founder led, generally a little bit frustrated. I'm looking for people in my backyard, people in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, or Carefree, Arizona, or wherever, right? Like, then that helps them like start to envision it. Just like the rest of the VTO, these 4 questions on the marketing strategy are a microcosm of the rest of it. We want to paint a picture for people that they can understand, fully kind of digest, and then repeat, so that it's not just me as the entrepreneur who has to understand what a great client looks like. I've actually communicated it in a way that is understandable, digestible, so that whether it's me or my mom or her cousin or my next door neighbor or my friend's basketball teammate's parent, they can all say pretty simply, like, oh, this is who Clay wants to work with, 10 to 250 in his backyard, pretty frustrated, whatever, right? That's the point of it. The point of it isn't that everyone can't be a client. The point is that you create this big effect where everybody understands. Does that make sense?
100%. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because yeah, we get into that of, well, everybody's a client, right? But then, outside of, even internally, when we talk about sales and marketing, making sure that they're laser focused and clearly defined on that, well, also out in the broader network, right? And people who can connect us to other business, if we can't very succinctly and quickly articulate to them precisely who we're trying to work with, then how are they supposed to help us? And so, certainly that's an extremely important part of it. I'll come back to the psychographic side of it. And it's great to be able to get your message in front of that target audience. But I think as humans, we innately want to be understood. And when you really clearly understand your target market and what they think and how they believe, and even begin to use some of their words and phrases and how they talk about their challenges and frustrations, and particularly those that you solve, you have a lot better chance of reaching those people because they feel understood by you. So it's very easy for us to say, well, we're a service company in a big metro, or yeah, we know where, right? But really focusing on understanding your clients. And
Oh,
then, I go ahead, Clay.
it's even more than understand. Like, I love it. You're 100% right. But actually, what we crave as people is to be made to feel special. And so imagine the difference of someone who you're saying like, yeah, everybody's a client, or saying like, I sold to people like you, just like you, because you're who I want to work with. There's such power in that, right? Like, they feel understood, but they also feel like, holy shit, this person's for me, or this service, or this product, or whatever. It's really kind of like undefinable, the oomph you get when you can nail that. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, we're all on track here. Have you worked with teams? I mean, when we defined the 3 uniques, that's usually fairly straightforward. But as we get into that proven process and the guarantee, what are some of the experiences that you've had with clients on trying to define those things?
Proven process is, I think, my favorite of the 4 questions, because it's something that they kind of all know in a different way. Right? You've got the you've got the operations person sitting there, you got the salesperson sitting there, you've got different functions of the business. And the proven process is where they all kind of come together to say, someone who doesn't know who we are, how do we take them from not knowing who we are to being this happy repeating client who's on our flywheel, doing the things that we want them to do in terms of like buying more services or referring us to friends or upgrading whatever, right? um that part, that collaborative part where they come together and kind of just describe what the customer journey looks like, is super fun. We don't tend to do that in the room. They tend to take it as homework, right? But when they come back that next time and they've done it, that's where you can see like, oh shit, we all work together. This actually isn't just the salesperson's job.
Right.
It is actually the whole company's job to generate new clients who become happy, who talk to other people who want to be it's just fun to see that. It's sometimes when we get to marketing strategy, people get the blinders on, like that's the sales guy's job. But when you actually think about it, these things are just like you said a few minutes ago. It's the leadership team's job to set the tone of the big picture marketing strategy. And part of that is like, what do we want the customer to experience? So that's why a proven process is my favorite.
I really like that one too, because if you show me a team that clearly understands their process from how to turn a stranger into a prospect, into a customer, and into a long term satisfied business partner, then I'll show you an organization that has got another piece of the puzzle in place for scalability, right? As we've grown the organization and things have gotten frayed over time, and then we've got different people approaching the market in different ways, then all these prospects are having a different experience with your organization and perhaps even with like the service or the product that I'm getting, right? And so someone's having a really great experience, someone else isn't. But if we've got everyone on the same page of this is exactly what we're going to do, and we're going to hit these high notes along the way, and this is our process that is indeed proven over time, well, then we're going to make a lot less mistakes with being able to not only accomplish the sales and marketing aspect of it, but that's going to carry over into that experience that they're having. And then we can really get things going. We're going to make less mistakes. There's going to be less headaches, less drawbacks in that process, and can really scale the company forward once that's very clearly defined and articulated to everyone.
Power of alignment. Power of alignment.
Absolutely.
About half my clients end up with a guarantee, half of them don't. I think it's really powerful when you do, when you say there's a little bit of financial oomph here, like we promise this will happen, and the ones that embrace it love it because they kind of enjoy that little bit of like a added kind of attention to the doing a good job. And some of my clients don't, but that's the
it's
one
got to
that's
have
the most
teeth, right?
It's got to have teeth.
Otherwise it's just kind of like, okay, like,
I feel like
just like with you and I in the room, Clay, right? We have a guarantee with our clients that if we don't provide value, we don't get paid, because we don't expect to receive value if we haven't first provided it. And so, yeah,
it's a little
like
scary.
that'll wake you up,
Yeah.
or keep you on your toes.
So I love the
I love
guarantee.
it too when they've really got one that like really means something, it's got some teeth and really matters.
If you say something like, we promise you're going to be happy, doesn't have many teeth, like not invaluable, not valuable, but also like probably not helping overcome the objection that the guarantee is meant to help with.
I had someone ask me one time, they said, well, what if like you get to the end of the day and your client says, well, I got about 70% value, so I'm going to give you about 70% of the check. And when I told them, no, this is very binary and it's all or nothing, they were very, very shocked by that. I'm like, that's the point of a guarantee. It's like, it's not, you pay me for some commensurate amount of value. Did I provide value? Right?
This is pass fail. This is pass fail.
This is pass fail. That's exactly right. Right? C's don't get degrees in our world.
I went to Carolina. We have different mottos, but that's fine.
Okay. Well, I went to Tech and no failure.
Yeah, heard. I think I think a lot of folks at the beginning of their EOS journey get a little hung up on the guarantee because it either feels so scary that they don't want to do it, or they can't come up with something that would have enough teeth to be scary. And so I think one of the messages, and maybe this will be my nugget and then I'll hand it back to you for nugget, is like, nail the target market. Like, nail understanding your list. Nail the 3 uniques. Nail the proven process. If the guarantee doesn't come to you right away, that's fine. Just keep readdressing it every 90 days, but nail those first 3 to drive true alignment on the marketing strategy. You got any nuggets, Joshy?
So it's funny that you mentioned that, and I was going to take it a step further and say, nail the target market. Have absolute clarity around that list, and then allow your team to use that as a very strict filter. I see a lot of shiny object stuff here where lots of people like to, pop into the marketing director's office and be like, well, what's our Snapchat? What's this new shiny object? Are we on this thing? And it's like, that's not the right question. The right question is, where is our specific target market? And let's meet them exactly where they are with the message that they need to hear. And so I can't think of any marketing department on planet Earth, unless you're at a really big company and you're just running a really big branding campaign and you're just throwing everything out there. If it's very pointed, then get that list very clearly defined, and then follow through with that with your marketing operations, and be very measured about where you spend your precious time and energy.
Perfect way to end our podcast today. I appreciate everybody who listened to the Alt 10s podcast. That was marketing strategy. Next episode is going to be about the 3-year picture as we continue to answer the 8 questions of the VTO in this fun little adventure that we call the Alt 10s podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Please rate us, share us, comment. Let us know if there's anything you want to hear more about. As always, I'm Clay. He's Josh. We're so happy you were here. We'll see you next time. Bye, Joshy.
Bye, Clay.